From the very first moment, something felt disturbingly wrong on that scorching stretch of Arizona highway cutting through nothing but sand, silence, and sky. The afternoon sun beat down like a hammer, turning asphalt into waves of shimmering heat. No cars. No signs. No hope. And then it shattered. Not from a thunderstorm, not from a crash, not from a siren wailing in the distance. But from a scream. A desperate, animal scream, raw and primal, that cut through the desert silence like something tearing apart from the inside. Because the woman collapsed against the smoking hood of her dead Toyota, hands clutching her swollen belly, knees buckling beneath her, whispered something no one stranded alone on a desert highway should ever have to say. The baby's coming. Right now. Her name was Sarah Jennings. 26 years old. 8.5 months pregnant. Tears mixing with sweat as they streamed down her sunburned cheeks. Her phone, cracked, dead, useless, lay in the dirt beside her blown-out tire. She'd been driving to Phoenix for her final checkup when the tire exploded. No spare. No signal. No traffic for 40 minutes. Just heat, fear, and contractions ripping through her body every 3 minutes. Sarah slid down the side of her car, gravel biting into her legs, one hand pressed against her belly. Her breath came in sharp gasps. Her vision blurred. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not alone. Not like this. She tried to scream again, but her throat was sandpaper. Nobody was coming. She was going to give birth on the side of a highway in 104-degree heat with nothing but terror. And then, she heard it. A low rumble. Distant at first. Like thunder rolling across flat land. But steady. Growing. Motorcycles. Lots of them. Sarah's heart lurched. She'd grown up where everyone warned their daughters about biker gangs, the violence, the danger, the chaos. Every instinct screamed at her to hide. But she couldn't move. And when 12 Harley-Davidsons roared around the curve, chrome flashing in sunlight, engines growling like caged beasts, Sarah felt her entire world tilt sideways. They looked like something out of a nightmare. Leather vests covered in patches. Tattoos crawling up arms, necks, knuckles. Bandanas. Sunglasses. Beards that hadn't seen a razor in years. The lead bike slowed. Then another. Then all 12. They circled her. Sarah's breath caught in her chest. She pressed herself harder against the car, one arm wrapped protectively around her belly. The biggest one, a mountain of a man with a graying beard and arms covered in faded military ink, killed his engine and swung off his bike. His boots crunched on gravel as he walked toward her. Sarah flinched. But he stopped 6 feet away and dropped to one knee, hands raised. "Ma'am," he said, voice rough but steady. "My name's Garrett. We're not here to hurt you." His eyes shifted down to her belly, then to the puddle forming beneath her. His entire face changed. "Oh hell," he breathed. "Your water broke." Sarah nodded, tears spilling over. I can't, it's too soon, I'm alone." "Not anymore," Garrett said firmly. He turned and barked orders like a battlefield commander. "Mac. First aid kit. Jess, water. Dawson, check for cell signal. Ricky, get that tarp. Now." The bikers moved like a military unit. Within 30 seconds, they'd formed a protective circle around Sarah's car, blocking her from the sun, from the road, from the world. A woman, short, fierce, with silver streaks in her black ponytail, knelt beside Garrett. "I'm Jess. I've delivered 3 babies. You're gonna be okay, sweetheart." Sarah's next contraction hit like a freight train. She screamed, and Jess grabbed her hand, squeezing hard. "Breathe through it. That's it. You're doing great. Garrett and two others stretched the tarp between bikes, creating a makeshift shelter. Another biker, young, heavily tattooed, scrubbed his hands with hand sanitizer. "I was a combat medic," he muttered to Jess. "I can help." "Then help," Jess snapped. They worked in perfect synchronization. One biker held the tarp. Another fanned Sarah with a jacket. A third radioed ahead on his CB. Two more blocked both lanes of highway, redirecting traffic. Sarah looked up at the circle of leather and ink surrounding her, these terrifying strangers who'd become her only hope, and something inside her broke open. "Why are you helping me?" she sobbed. Garrett, kneeling in the dirt beside her, looked at her with eyes that had seen too much war. "Because you need help. And because that baby deserves a fighting chance." The contractions came faster. Harder. Sarah screamed until her throat was raw, until her nails dug into Jess's calloused hand. The heat was unbearable. The pain was unbearable. But the bikers didn't leave. Not for a second. Not for a breath. Jess checked her progress and looked at the combat medic. "She's crowning. This is happening now." "Sarah," Garrett's voice cut through her panic. "You're the toughest person on this highway right now. You got this." And somehow, through pain and fear and impossible heat, Sarah pushed. The desert held its breath. The bikers held their breath. And then. A cry. Small. Furious. Alive. "It's a girl!" Jess shouted, voice cracking with emotion as she lifted the tiny, squirming baby into the air. The bikers erupted. Cheers, whoops, fists pumping in the air. Garrett wiped his eyes with the back of his tattooed hand, not even trying to hide it. Jess wrapped the baby in a clean t-shirt and placed her on Sarah's chest. The baby, red-faced, screaming, perfect, quieted the moment she felt her mother's heartbeat. Sarah looked down at her daughter, then up at the circle of rough, weathered faces surrounding her, men and women the world had taught her to fear, and whispered, "Thank you." Garrett shook his head. "No thanks needed. Just doing what's right." 20 minutes later, an ambulance finally arrived. Paramedics rushed out, shocked to find the baby already delivered, already stable, already wrapped in a leather vest to keep her warm. "Who delivered?" one paramedic asked. Jess jerked her thumb at the bikers. "They did." The paramedic stared. "Seriously?" "Seriously," Sarah said. "They saved us." As the ambulance doors closed, Sarah caught Garrett's eye one last time. He tipped his head, smiled, a soft smile that didn't match his intimidating exterior, and turned toward his bike. "Wait!" Sarah called out. "What do I tell her? When she's older? What do I say about the people who brought her into the world?" Garrett paused, one boot on the foot peg, and looked back over his shoulder. "Tell her," he said quietly, "that the scariest-looking people on the road turned out to be exactly who she needed." He revved his engine. And 12 motorcycles disappeared into the desert heat, leaving nothing behind but tire tracks and a story Sarah would tell for the rest of her life. 3 months later, Sarah walked into a roadside diner 50 miles from where her daughter was born. She pushed a stroller decorated with tiny motorcycle decals. Garrett sat in a corner booth, nursing black coffee. When he saw her, he stood, awkward, uncertain, until Sarah crossed the room and hugged him. "Her name's Harley," Sarah said, pulling back the blanket. "Harley Grace Jennings." Garrett stared down at the tiny face, then looked at Sarah with moisture in his eyes. "That's a good name." Sarah smiled. "She's going to grow up knowing that sometimes angels wear leather. And that the people the world tells you to fear might be the ones who save your life." Word spread fast after that. First through the biker community. Then the news. Then the world. People who'd crossed the street to avoid bikers started waving. Families invited them to barbecues. A whole town showed up when Garrett's chapter rode through. Garrett didn't want the attention. He just wanted to ride, to live, to be left alone. But Sarah made sure Harley knew the truth. Every birthday, she sent Garrett a photo. Every year, he kept them in his wallet. And when people asked Garrett about that day on the highway, he'd shrug and say the same thing. We didn't do anything special. We just didn't ride past someone who needed help. But the truth? The bikers everyone judged, everyone feared, everyone avoided, they didn't just deliver a baby that day. They delivered hope. They proved that heroism doesn't wear a uniform. It wears whatever the hell it wants. And sometimes, it roars.